We have River Stanley, who was kidnapped from his mother over 2 months ago. It's going on almost 3 months now. And we don't know where he is or what's happened to him, but we know that God moved us in to protect the original attempt to kidnap him, I guess, because sanctuary was the only hope that mother had at that point. I mean, we watched everything. We were literally there to witness custodial interference by a attorney who said she was a democratic socialist and who makes a lot of money. And it's funny where these kids in these custody disputes end up. Unvaccinated children end up with the parent who wants to be vaccinated. And the minute you talk about something like that, or you talk about custodial interference, most people don't want to get involved with the case. Once again, if God puts a child on our path, what do? We move in to assist the child. We do whatever is necessary for the child. If the child's sole caregiver is in fear for the child's life, and there is a reasonable fear, and God showed us, we witnessed it. I'm a witness that they will not call in court. And I was there when a custodial exchange took place, but they don't want to call me in court, because you call me in court, then you have two witnesses versus one witness. So now the scales tip in the favor. So they've done everything they could to take this child. They just took this child, and Sarah Stanley just hit Teton County, Idaho, and they're holding a mother, a Christian mom, who didn't want her child vaccinated, who didn't want her child unsupervised with the abuser who abandoned her. And these are truthful statements. And there had to be a bridge built to make those things happen. But that's not what happens in family court. Law enters family, and then you have children that are being persecuted and separated by the very law that's also trafficking them across the border. That's also shielding the ones who are trafficking them across the border and arresting and incarcerating the parents who want to protect their children. Now, in this particular case, I'm looking at it as we had Idaho families contact Idaho families that I'm with right now and said Sarah's being held on $1 million bond. Now, this was after a judge in Alabama looking at the case said there's no reason to hold this woman. She doesn't even have a speeding ticket. She's in her 40s. She's a Christian. She's been a good Christian woman her entire life. And now suddenly she's a criminal. She can't have her kid. She's a danger to her own child. And they're holding her in the county jail. So the judge had contacted Idaho, and that was all work that Francesca Fight CPS did. Once again, there's new advocacy teams that's taken over for Sarah. There's nothing that I personally can do. We went to militias. We said, if we're going to, get her set free, this is the only peaceful, nonviolent approach that we see where people can't get hurt and people can't go out and say they were terrorized and in fear for their life. But people weren't willing to go and apply the tactics that we apply. And I find it astounding sometimes. If you're listening, I want you to understand that we show you video evidence that if you go and apply the tactics that we apply, you end up with the fruit, you end up with the result that you're seeking to obtain. And even if it's for 15 minutes or if it's for 15 days, you've been able to affect change in some area. But most of that has to be repeated, and it's a vast desert when it comes to border operations. So River, we still don't know. Sarah, we know that $1 million bond, that should be a wake-up call to everyone. And then it was reported to us that the judge in charge of her criminal case is Judge Cleve Colson. Now, I'm saying it's reported to us because I don't know that. I haven't heard verification from Francesca yet. I'm waiting for a call back from her. But if Cleve Colson is the judge in charge of her criminal case, well, he was the judge who signed the illegal order to take this child from his mother and put him in the hands of someone he didn't know. Instead of giving churches and families and mediators time to find a solution, suddenly we got to get this kid out of the crazy mom who doesn't want to have him vaccinated and has actually got a clean, spotless record into the hands of the father who left him and goes down to Mexico and does drugs and parties up and has prostitutes and everything. I mean, the guy's lifestyle, if you compare it, it's like the criminals and the people that are clinging to darkness, they're rewarded. And the ones who cling to Jesus, they're being persecuted. And I tell people that they don't see that the Christians are being persecuted, not just Christian families that are fleeing countries from the Northern Triangle or across the world. There's Christians in those groups. Remember that. I've met many hundreds of Christians from all across the world. Sarah, I asked people to pray for her. I don't know what anyone's plan is. We've told people wherever they intend to try to hold a trial, we're going to do everything we can to make sure every family who helped her protect her son, and you're talking over 36 individuals. I believe it's 5 to 7 locations. I think it's 2 that definitely can't never be revealed. We don't care about one where there was a conflict and there had to be a move, because at the end of the day, our families are all Christians, and we understand conflicts sometimes occur. And sometimes people aren't equipped to deal with the situation and the fear that the government could come kick in their door any minute because they're sheltering a woman and child. And we actively pursued a resolution. We contacted the sheriffs weekly. We contacted missing and exploited children weekly. We contacted the U.S. Marshals, verifying to them that the children, or that child and mom was safe, that they weren't in danger, that they had what they needed. But we can't be brought to any negotiation table under the threat of a gun. That this child doesn't belong to the government. It belongs to his mother, who says she is a child of God and she's raising her child to be a child of God. So we don't come as children of God under the threat of a gun to negotiate. That's not how we solve problems. So none of our solutions people are willing to sit down and really look at and apply. And that's where we run into so much trouble. Now, Sarah ended up with the group outside of our ministry, and it wasn't 2 weeks after she ended up somewhere in Alabama. We still don't have a full answer. We still don't know the people who turned her in. We do know the last people who were with her and forced the situation for her to be pretty much removed from our ministry's program and put into another program. So, and this was all related to a group that are avid Q, trust a plan, you're getting in the way of white hats, and, we're going to take over. And the next thing you know, we have a child and the mother in jail, child in the hands of someone he doesn't know. And the damage that's been done, there's nothing that's been done that Jesus can't overcome. So, but there's been damage that's been done. And we want to make sure at some point we get her out, or make an effort to. There's a good chance of getting patriots in Idaho, and people are going to be working on that. That's something that has to be separate. When you enter me into some of these problems, people aren't going to go and help just because it's attached to me. And if it's attached to me, well, then what's that attached to? Well, we make Craig Sawyer look bad, and that makes a lot of people look bad. X-22 report. All kinds of individuals, from Alex Jones to Lou Dobbs to people that were involved with the CMEX child trafficking camp. Senator Kelly Townsend was there. We make all these people look bad because we're not going to lie. I'm not going to lie. I'm just going to tell people the truth. I can throw all my cards on the table. They love to throw my criminal past out and say, look what a criminal he is. And I can go out there and show people just hundreds and hundreds of videos of all the amazing things God's had me do as a former criminal. So any other criminals who see that out there, well, this is what you can become if you pick up Jesus and you go out and you fearlessly fight for what is right.